Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our regular meeting of council. It's 6:02 p.m. on Wednesday, December 3rd, 2025, and we are all in person here today. We actually have folks in the gallery. Welcome. I'd like to read our traditional land acknowledgement. The town of Midland recognizes it's located on land which is traditional and treaty territory of the Anishinaabeg people, now known as the Chippewa Tri-Council, comprised of Bow Slave First Nation, Rama First Nation, and Georgina Island First Nation. This territory is within Pre-Confederation Treaty 5 and Treaty 16 and included within the Williams Treaties of 1923. The town of Midland recognizes is located on land which is traditional territory of the Huron-Wendat and the historic homeland, the Métis, and their town is home to a large and diverse community of Indigenous people. I'd now like to deliver the following safety message. Should the fire alarm activate, please exit the room in an orderly fashion and proceed to the evacuation assembly area, which is located in our upper parking lot. Third, you may exit through the main entrance, the double glass doors, make an immediate left, proceed out the front doors or through the secondary exit right back here, and go up the stairs, check the door for heat before opening, and if it's safe, exit onto the second floor, turning right and proceed out the doors in front of you, or just follow us. Washrooms are located on our second floor. The elevator is just outside the main entrance. As Midland has a respectful workplace policy, anyone exhibiting violent or harassing behavior will be asked to leave. Members of the audience will maintain order and quiet, not to address council, except the permission of the chair. All cell phones and pagers, is a good reminder, should be turned, anything that emits a sound basically, or be turned off or set to non-audible. No person shall display signs or placards, applaud participants in debate, or engage in conversation, electronic or otherwise, or behave in a way which may disrupt the proceedings of council. For anyone requiring a hearing assist device, please advise the clerk and she will arrange with our IT staff to provide you with that device. And council meetings are recorded via Zoom and are posted on our town's YouTube site. The meetings are also broadcast on Rogers TV Midland Channel 53, one meeting per month, and live streamed via Rogers TV Midland, which can be accessed through the Town of Midland website. Individual recording, broadcasting, or streaming of meetings by the public or any member is not permitted without express consent of the clerk and all those present. So there's the housekeeping, and now I ask you to join me in a moment of silent reflection before we get into the meeting. Thank you. All right, we're into section 2.1, the open forum. It's still new, so I'll explain it. Open forum provides a 2-minute opportunity for the public to speak to an item on the regular council agenda. Details regarding the open forum can be found under section 9.5A of the town's procedure bylaw, 2022-2. Individuals shall sign the open forum register with the clerk prior to being permitted to speak to council and must agree to follow all the terms set out in the town's procedure bylaw. Open forum shall last no longer than 10 minutes in total. As general practice, the length of time each individual has to address council shall be no longer than 2 minutes and at the discretion of the mayor or chair. So with that being said, do we have anybody in the gallery that would like to avail themselves of our new open forum feature? Bueller? No? Okay. Very good. Well, it's something new we're trying. I know people can engage with us online or in person or on phone 24/7, 365, but this is still a new feature that we've added to our procedure bylaw. Okay, council. Declarations of conflict of interest. Any conflict of interest relating to tonight's agenda? Seeing none, if one should arise, throw your hand up at the time and we'll make the declaration. Moving of the agenda, approval of the agenda. Pardon me, screen. Nope. Where's my pen? I got a Sharpie, but that's kind of silly. Okay. Oh, thank you. Here comes one. Thank you. I usually check my pockets, but my new shirt doesn't have a pocket. Moved by Councillor Patel, seconded by Councillor East, that the contents of the regular council meeting agenda for December 3rd, 2025 be approved as amended, with that amendment being in addition to item 5.4.4 CSR 2025-116 Georgian Bay Native Friendship Center land request, that being correspondence dated today, December 3rd, 2025 from the Georgian Bay Native Friendship Center, which is now on our electronic agenda in council. I believe it was delivered to your inboxes today. So that being said, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Next, moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Councillor Ball, that the items and related recommendations contained within the December 3rd, 2025 consent agenda as consent items having been considered by council be adopted with the exception of item 5.4.2, CSR 2025-114, surplus lands for residential uses, Item 5.4.3, CSR 2025-115, 8th Street parking lane changes. Item 5.4.4, CSR 2025-116, Georgia Bay Native Friendship Center land request. And item 5.4.7, CSR 2025-121, public nuisance bylaw, which will be considered under Section 12, reports and other items withdrawn from the consent agenda for council's consideration, including presentations by consultants regarding a report under consideration. That being said, council, we're about to do an omnibus pass of everything else. It's your opportunity to call out, make comment, have a quick question, or just a shout out about something on that consent agenda. Council, is there anybody? Councillor Ball.
I was just going to say, I think we've been talking a lot online. I know Mayor Gordon and I have been talking a lot online about the speed cameras. I just thought that this was a really interesting 39% reduction in speed in like 1.5 months. So it's too bad that the way it is, they did away with the speed cameras. I saw that the new giant signs that are coming out of our tax dollars hopefully will make a difference, but that was a shocking statistic. I thought 39 points, like percent reduction in speed in just 1.5 months. So hopefully people still appreciate that it is a school zone and continue to go slow.
I got a quick one then. This is under the correspondence section. I shared this on my website as well, and that's the ombudsman letter. This is our first ombudsman complaint that we know of that has been dealt with this term. I'm proud to say that we've only had one, although that number is really in the hands of the community. It's an option available to anybody who feels that a closed meeting, they investigate closed meeting requests or allegations of improper closed meetings. Anybody that feels that council, didn't abide by the rules around closed meetings is free to advance a complaint to the ombudsman and have it investigated. Somebody did that, and it was thoroughly investigated by the ombudsman, who issued a clearance letter indicating that there was no evidence to suggest that we did anything improper and no closed meeting took place outside of what you would see in a public realm like this. So people have asked me like, oh, isn't that what a waste of tax money? Why would people complain about you? Well, and I just wanted to call this out quickly in that I fully support people's right to make complaints to the integrity commissioner, who investigates code of conduct or conflict of interest allegations, or the ombudsman, who's our closed meeting investigator. If anybody feels at any time that any part of this government that I'm leading right now has done something that isn't up to our standards, they are free to avail themselves of these processes, and I would never discourage them from doing so. And of course, we ultimately accept the findings, whether we did something wrong or didn't in this case. So just for anybody wondering, the tax money spent by the ombudsman office, you fund it anyway, whether you use it or not. It's paid for under your provincial taxes. So this is our first one. So it's on our correspondence for consideration. Of course, I'm happy that we were cleared of any wrongdoing because we work really hard to make sure we follow all the rules. But if somebody sees it, that's what it's all about. And it's a process that is available to anybody. And I would never discourage people from using an appeal process available to them, either through the integrity commissioner or through the ombudsman's office. So just a little explanation of what that's all about. Anything else on the consent agenda? All right, we'll get right into it. So all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Moved by Councillor Meredith, seconded by Councillor Bald, that the council resolve into committee of the whole. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Deputy Mayor, it's all you.
Okay. So moving forward to our public meeting. Is this working? Yeah, okay. I would like to call the public meeting to order. This public meeting is being held pursuant to Section 22 and 34 of the Planning Act to consider an official plan amendment and a zoning bylaw amendment for the property located at 1400 Everton Road. In accordance with the Planning Act, a person that does not make an oral submission at the public meeting or does not make a written submission before the bylaw is passed or an approval is given will not be entitled to appeal the decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal and may not be added as a party to a hearing on an appeal to the tribunal unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to do so. The purpose of this public meeting is to present the proposed official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment and to receive comments from the public. Council is not making a decision on the application or taking a position. Council will debate the merits of the application following the receipt of the staff recommendation report to be presented at a future council meeting. If you wish to be advised as to when the recommendation report will be put before council, or if you wish to be notified about council's decision, please contact the Planning Services Department at planning@midland.ca by no later than January 14th, 2026. I will now call upon Zoe Beamish, planner, to introduce the application and confirm that notice of public meeting has been issued as prescribed by the Planning Act.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Chair. My name is Zoe, and I am a planner with the Planning Department at the Town of Midland. I can confirm that the notice of public meeting has been issued in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act. As confirmed by the Chair, the purpose of this public meeting is to gather feedback from members of the public about the proposed official plan and zoning bylaw amendments. As this is a privately initiated application, the role of staff is limited to providing a basic overview of the application. The applicant's agent will provide more details in their presentation. Staff can confirm that the property is located at 1400 Everton Road and is designated neighborhood residential and natural heritage on Schedule C of the town's official plan. The property is zoned rural as per the town's zoning bylaw. The applicant is currently seeking to amend the town's official plan and zoning bylaw to facilitate a future consent application that will create 3 new lots from the subject lands. Please note that the current application seeks policy approvals only and no development is proposed at this time. These policy approvals seek to 1. Redesignate most of the lands from the natural heritage designation to the neighborhood residential designation. 2. To provide relief from the requirement for full municipal services to be available before development proceeds, as a portion of the property is within the identified urban service limit. And 3. To rezone the lands from rural to residential R5. The applicant has submitted several reports and studies in support of the proposed official plan and zoning bylaw amendments. Staff will review these reports along with any comments provided tonight and provide a planning opinion by way of a recommendation report that will be presented to council at a later date. Staff wish to remind the public that if they want to be notified when the recommendation report is to be presented to council, or if they wish to receive a copy of the notice of decision for the application, they must contact the planning department by email at planning@midland.ca. Thank you, Chair. That is all for my presentation this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Beamish. I will now invite the applicant's agent, Craig Matheson, to provide a presentation on the proposed official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment.
Evening, everyone. Can everyone hear me? Yeah. Okay. So I'll just share my screen. Apologies.
We've got your presentation. We'll advance the slide. Just say next slide, please.
Okay, perfect.
We love it.
Okay, so good evening. My name is Craig Matheson. I'm the planning consultant with Skelton Brumwell and Associates. I prepared the planning justification report on behalf of the owner of 14 Everton Road, and will give a brief overview of the applications. Next slide, please. So the property is about 2 hectares in size and has around 133 meters of frontage onto Everton Road. There's one existing home on the southeast corner, which the owner lives in. The rest of the property is mostly wooded with a gentle slope toward Everton Road. Municipal water is already available at the road, and the property uses a private septic system for sewage, as does the homes in the surrounding area. The neighborhood is mostly made up of detached homes on larger lots with a mix of rural and suburban style properties. North of the site is owned by the town and contains municipal water tower. To the south, across Everton Road, there are several detached homes on R5 zone lots that are very similar in size and shape to what the applicant is proposing. Next slide, please. From a land use planning perspective, the County of Simcoe identifies the site as within the settlement area. The town's official plan places most of the property in the natural heritage designation, with the existing dwelling located within the neighborhood residential designation. The property is also within the delineated built boundary, which is meant for development. Next slide, please. In terms of the zoning bylaw, the property is currently zoned rural. It is noted the lots directly south across the road are zoned R5, which is the proposed zoning in this case. Next slide, please. So the owner is proposing to create three new residential lots on the eastern side of the property. 3 new lots can be undertaken by way of consent. The existing home would remain on the retained lot, which would be approximately 8,100 meters squared in size. Each new lot would be about 4,050 square meters with 27 meters of frontage on Everton Road and intended for future single detached dwellings. These dimensions are almost identical to the lots across the road. Next slide, please. The image shows the proposed lots in relation to those lots across the road, which are also zoned R5. So this shows the proposal is in keeping with the surrounding residential environment. Next slide, please. In terms of the applications, the official plan amendment does 2 things. First, it redesignates the land from natural heritage to neighborhood residential, which is essentially an expansion of the designation already applying to the existing residents on the property. This is supported by the EIS submitted with the application. Second, the OPA allows these lots to use private septic systems, which is the type of service used by dwellings in the surrounding area. This OPA was required due to the site and the surrounding area being in the town's urban service area, which requires development to be on full municipal services. The site is partially serviced with water, and no municipal sewer is planned for the foreseeable future in this area. This OPA was confirmed as acceptable through the pre-consultation with town staff, and the servicing study submitted with the application also supports it. In terms of the zoning bylaw amendment, it is proposed to rezone the property from rural to residential 5, which is the same as the properties across the street. All of the lots fully comply with the R5 zoning requirements. Next slide, please. 3 technical studies were prepared in support of the applications. An EIS confirming the lots will not result in negative impacts on natural heritage features. An archaeological assessment. So during this assessment, a single indigenous pottery fragment was found in the far northwestern corner of the property, which is the rear of the property. However, this part of the property is well outside the area where development would occur, which is near the roading frontage. A permanent 10-meter protection buffer will be put in place as advised by the archaeological consultant and will be recorded on title as required by the province. This means that no development will ever occur in this area to protect this artifact. A functional servicing report was also prepared and confirmed the existing water main can service the new lots, and private septic will be utilized, as is the same for residential properties in the surrounding area. Next slide, please. So in summary, the proposal seeks an official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment that would facilitate the creation of 3 new lots. All technical studies confirm the land can be developed safely and responsibly. And overall, it is my opinion that the proposal represents good planning and should be approved. Next slide, please. So that's the end of my presentation, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Matheson. I will now open the meeting to comments from the public. If you wish to make a comment, please step up to the podium and state your name and address for the public record. You'll have a maximum of 5 minutes to speak. Would anybody like to start? Oh, you have to turn it on. So just hit the button.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can.
My name's Bob Lettingham. I'm at 1429 Everton Road, across the street. And I guess I object to the change. Fundamentally, and it's really quite easy, I object to the loss of green space, and I object to the increase in density of housing. When I bought into Midland, into the lot where I am, I bought with a full knowledge of how it was zoned and what was around me. And so for me, having that kind of density and green space across the road was a factor in buying the house where I am. So in my mind, losing the green space and increasing the density is changing the nature and a detriment to my enjoyment of my property. So very simple. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Janet Escorso Pedro. I don't live on Everton, but I'm on Frontenac and Everton Road. My address is 220 Frontenac Avenue. This is my son, Benjamin Michael Escorcio Pedro, and he has something that he would like to say, and then I will follow up. He's also 8 years old, so he's very nervous.
I don't want to do it because I like playing with the animals there. And I like playing fetch with my dog in the woods. And I have a really nice bike and a motorcycle, and I like going to the woods with both of those things. And I like adventuring in the woods a lot.
Oh, great. You did good. Well done, Benjamin. We're all very proud of you. I know that was hard for you. I'm about 4 years new to Midland. And when I got here, honestly, I don't know how we got here, but when I purchased the home on Frontenac and I looked at what was surrounding me, I purchased it for that reason. There was a new house that went up right at the corner just before this. Yeah, like there's the water tower and then there's another house, and that house was being built. And a family of turkeys would always cross over into it, and they are gone now. They don't do that anymore because their house has been established beside this house that we are talking about right now. So I don't see how it is safe. I was hearing in the presentation before for our animals or for our environment, how it is safe. We're basically going to be, or it would be basically chopping down a whole bunch of things. And to an 8-year-old who is in grade 3 is very serious because that's not what we're teaching in our schools to do. We're encouraging to preserve our environment and to take care of it for long lasting effects. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep, come on up.
My name is Paul Scott. I'm at 1411 Everton Road, so right across the street from the area. And I guess I just concur with Bob that, it's been designated a natural heritage site for a reason and to preserve the green space. And I guess I object to the change as well. Thank you.
Hello, good evening. It's Paul Freiberger. I'm at 1383 Everton Road. And I concur with all my neighbors, actually, with everything they've said so far, for the reasons why I live where I live. I just wanted to point one thing out to the council. The owners of the property are not living where at the site right now. They're in Paris. And from what I know, they look to keep it that way. So that's it.
Would anybody else like to say anything?
My name is Guy Milton. I live at 1375 Everton and basically agree with everything they've said.
If by chance this was go forward, one of my main concerns with the plans or the possible plans for the lots is the width of the lots. We're looking at lots that are maybe 75 feet wide by 500 feet deep, which seems kind of odd. Janet mentioned that there was a new house on the corner. It's 500 feet deep, but it's more like probably just under, maybe even 200 feet wide or 175 feet wide. So it's more in, I could see if, you know, where the house is now, that they're going to widen that lot. It's maybe going to be 200 feet. I don't know what their plans are, but to have very narrow, three very narrow lots, maybe 75 by 500 feet deep, just doesn't seem like a good fit for that area. And but I also agree with it. It's too bad we're losing all that green space. So that's what I think.
Hi, I'm Brenda Aslin, 1391 Everton Road. And I just want to confirm that Sherry, I sent a letter, and is that going to be shared with everybody?
Through Deputy Mayor to Mrs. Aslin, the correspondence was forwarded to the planning department, so they do have it on record.
Excellent, thank you. I just wanted to be sure.
Would anyone else like to make an oral submission? The more you tell us, the more we know. Sure. 2 minutes.
Sorry, it's Janet Scorso Pedro again. It's just to point out, it is not only these neighbors that are using that and are benefiting from it. We have people as far as Fuller Avenue who live on Everton Road coming up all the way there. So it's not only us that's going to be affecting. This is going to be affecting a lot of individuals in that community who actually did not receive the letter. One of who I work with and wanted to be here, but could not because she's ill at this moment. So I think if more individuals were aware of that, at least that was my understanding, what was explained to me, there would be a lot more of us here.
Anybody can also make a written submission. And I believe it was right up. Oh, go ahead.
To you, Madam Chair. So under the Planning Act, we have specified requirements for us to circulate. So all property owners within 120 meters of the subject lands get a notice in the mail. So if you're 121 meters outside, then you do not get a notice in the mail. But that's why we have them put a notice on the property, and we utilize social media as well. So even if you're outside of that circulated area, you can still provide comments back to the Planning Services Department, which would then be reviewed and incorporated into the recommendation report when it comes back forward to council. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, I don't see anybody else coming up. So as there are no further comments from the public regarding the official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment, I will now call this public meeting to an end. I'm going to read the motion and open the floor for council to ask questions to staff. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Major and Councillor East. I'm sorry. I know. The staff report CSR 2025 114 surplus lands for residential uses dated December 3rd, 2025 be received for information. And I'll now open the floor for council to ask questions to staff. Oh, go ahead, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. That was the wrong motion. It's the official plan amendment.
Wait a minute. On my minutes? Where? I apologize. That staff report CSR 2025 120, official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment, public meeting report, file number OPA 03-25, OPA-9 and ZBA-08-25 for 1400 Everton Road dated December 3rd, 2025 be received for information. And I had Counselor Major and East. Okay. Does council have any questions for staff? Counselor McDonald.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. Just clarification on the procedure. We're receiving this for information, but a full report will come back for this decision. Thank you.
See. Counselor Ball.
Thank you. I don't have any questions. I just wanted to speak to the people that spoke to us. Thank you. And I agree, Benjamin, that is what the schools are teaching us. But unfortunately, the Ontario government feels differently and binds us in a lot of these. So you can love to see that initiative taken and tell the Ontario government that the environment is really important to us and really important to our schools. So I know I don't see him here anymore, but okay. Well, if you want to pass the message along, we appreciate him talking. We always appreciate young minds coming in.
Counselor Meredith.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. I just had just for clarification, I didn't understand one of the citizens coming up to the mic. I believe it was Paul Weisberger. Yeah, you mentioned that there was someone away that lived on the property that's away. Is that how I understood, or they own the property?
I'm sorry, can you
Just
repeat
clarify that?
Can I ask you to repeat that, please?
So when you came up to the mic, you were saying that the owners of the property were away?
That's correct. Yeah, the owners of the property currently are not living there and they're moving. Yeah, they're in France and that's where they intend to live.
Okay. Yeah, because when you said, I'm sorry, what you said, but they were living there because the land is vacant. I just didn't understand how they would be living there.
There is there is somebody living at the property, but it's not the owners. It's just a caretaker at this point.
Okay, so there is a house on the property. Is that correct?
The existing home, yeah,
Thank you.
is inhabited, but not by the owners. The owners are in France.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, council, you've heard the motion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried.
Okay, doesn't matter.
Okay.
I didn't see it in the report. So it's not a big deal. I thought maybe I missed it. Okay. Reports. Okay. Good old West Current.
Okay, so everybody who came up to the podium to make a comment or is going to, anybody else who's going to submit a comment at all, they will receive information in the mail for when the report's coming back. So you will be notified. Or you can email the Planning Act as well at midland.ca. Or sorry, it's planning@midland.ca.
There's the 3 lots. Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Number 8, presentations. We have none. Number 9, Integrity Commissioner Recommendation Report. We have none. Deputations and petitions. We have none. Or memo. We have none. Number 12, reports and other items withdrawn from the consent agenda for council's consideration. Includes presentations by consultants regarding a report under consideration. So I mixed up my motion, so just give me 1 second to sort them out. Oh, that staff report CSR-2025-114 surplus lands for residential uses dated December 3rd, 2025 be received for information. And I do have a mover and a seconder from before, so no, that's already, so you guys did the other one. So could I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor McDonald. Oh, no, sorry, I already have it written here. I apologize. So Councillor East and Councillor Major. Okay, so we can open it up for discussion.
Which one are we on?
Yeah, sorry for all the confusion. I'm sorted out now. Councillor McDonald.
No.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. I'm just, first of all, clarification, is the Bridge Club and the gymnastic property off of William Street not surplus?
Through you, Madam Chair, no, that property has not been deemed surplus. The adjacent property, 415 William, which is a vacant property, has been deemed surplus and has been sold. But the Bridge Club and the Gymnastic Club, no, it has not gone through the process to be deemed surplus.
Well, is it being considered at some point? And then how do we proceed with plans to offer this property for maybe subsidized or affordable housing now that we have this list?
Through you, Madam Chair. So right now there's active leases with the gymnastics club. So we're not looking at deeming that property surplus. In terms of trying to get some affordable or attainable housing on these lands, I think bringing a report like this forward, maybe we'll get some interest. There has been some interest in some of the properties on this list. And I think that we'll potentially get maybe some people knocking on our doors, in particular on Ingram and Penetang Machine Road, which are smaller lots. Maybe we'll get some interest in those lots. But some of the larger lots, we've also had people inquire with us. So it's not to say we haven't been getting any interest on any of these lots and we're just bringing forward the report. We have been in discussions with various people looking at purchasing some of these lots. It's hopeful with this report coming forward that maybe the attention gets brought forward on them. So maybe we'll have a little bit more traction if someone does want to develop.
Yeah, we'll certainly have to circulate it where we think there's any slight possibility of somebody interested in building those modular homes or something. Because I think Barrie, just the campus of care, they put in 40 modular homes, buildings. I think that was done through the county, so I don't know whether the county wants to consider one of our properties for that, because every little bit we can do would certainly be helpful.
Through you, Madam Chair, we've provided the county in the past this list of properties that have been deemed surplus. So the county is aware of all of our properties that we have deemed surplus, including the former ops property, as well as the ones here on Ingram, all the ones that are listed on here, the county, and Bomb Beach Road that we currently have the RFP out for. So the county has been made aware of all these properties deemed surplus, and we're hoping that the county picks one of these properties. They do have the property in mind where the existing water tower is on Montreal that we're currently working through with them on, but these other properties have been put forth to the county or put forward to the county for their consideration.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know I'm only supposed to have 2 questions, but this is my last one. This isn't our entire inventory of surplus properties, is it?
Through you, Madam Chair, yes, these are the ones that have been deemed surplus. There's other ones that haven't been deemed surplus yet that aren't in this list, but these are the ones that have been deemed surplus.
Thank you.
Mayor Gordon.
Thanks. Yeah, it's great to see this list as well as a fresh valuation on the land. 2 comments. One, are we going to list all of these with our new agent on the MLS so that they can be more widely discovered by the development community, especially with the information that we have on its current zoning, what's required for residential, and its status under natural heritage. It'd be great to get these things out on the MLS. I wasn't sure if that was part of the plan. And the second thing is that 731 Ontario Street, our former ops building, is the subject of some interest that council will see soon. I believe from Shelter Now. They'd like to build a 3rd apartment tower, like they have the 2 buildings they have now that are on Hartman. They've got money to build a 3rd, and they're looking for land. So I know we have a land donation request on the agenda tonight, but I expect we're going to see one coming through soon from Shelter Now, and they're they're really keen on that property. Now, I was a little shocked when I saw the valuation being as high as it is. It's that's a big ask in my mind from the ratepayer, like taking over $1 million worth of property and donating it. It would feel better if it was like a couple $100,000 personally, and I've expressed that to the group at Shelter Now, but I'm not taking a position that we wouldn't. I just want to let council know that that property has some constraints and that it's got some pollutants in it from its former industrial use. There'd be a lot of work and probably expense for an organization like Shelter Now to prepare that to be suitable for residential uses. But if that's the size and location that they'd like and are prepared to undertake that, that'll all be considered under their forthcoming ask. But I just want to kind of plant that seed and let the folks at Shelter know now who may be watching that, even though my initial response was kind of like, that's a pretty tall order ask. I didn't want them to think that I was going to gatekeep or stonewall in any way, shape, or form. So I didn't want to out it tonight that it is something that's coming towards us for an ask, and we need to use some of these valuations and do the cost benefit analysis to the town, because there is a little skepticism that could we actually get that much money for it right now if we sold it in today's market? Maybe not. So perhaps it could have a second life as a transitional supportive housing for Shelter Now. So that being said, I guess part of my question was, are we going to put these things on the MLS? If yes, when? If not, why? And my comments about the old ops was more just for council and the public who consume our meetings, to let them know that this is another ask that's coming to us in our commitment to help support getting affordable housing in Midland.
Through Madam Chair, yes, that's what we'll do is we'll work with our realtor to have them go up on the realtor.ca and hopefully get some additional interest in them to have some sort of built form done there for residential.
Councillor Ball.
Thank you. I'm just, I guess, confused on the rush, why we're going to just put all of these on MLS right now. Like, I don't understand the rationale. Why wouldn't we hold on to them, wait until there's a better market? Like, if we're deeming them surplus, we're automatically assuming they're going on MLS without consideration again.
Through you, Madam Chair. So the direction was to bring forward a report with all of our lands that we've deemed surplus. So these have already been deemed surplus. The properties in particular on Penetang Machine Road and Ingram, I agree, they're single detached dwelling lots for the most part. They could probably be merged and maybe a townhouse development to go in there. That could be the direction of council to not proceed when we have an offer, when that if they do go to the realtor and the realtor does go through that process, council can give us direction not to sell them.
Okay, thank you, because this is, again, like you said, showing us the surplus lands, not direction to put everything on MLS, correct?
Through you, Madam Chair, yeah, the intent of this report was just to show you all the list of the properties. But if council wishes for us to proceed to put them on realtor, then we'll do that. If council gives us the direction to not further promote these properties tonight, then we won't further promote them. But the idea was to try and get some interest to have these properties developed.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, you're just speaking as if they're already on MLS, so just clarifying that.
Mayor Gordon.
Thanks. So I mean, if we need that direction, I'd be happy to put a motion forward that staff put these on the MLS. It doesn't bind us to selling them, but it simply exposes them to the market. Our intention is to have more housing built in the municipality, and these are lots that could be turned into residential units. So I think keeping them in our pocket, during a housing crisis is a little short-sighted. Could we get more, 5 years from now when maybe the market picks up? Sure, but I mean, that's not the intent here. We want to try and unlock housing sooner than later. We know how long it takes to go from acquisition of land to actually shovels in the ground through no fault of ours. So, council, if I had a seconder for this, I'd like to see all of these properties listed on MLS to test the water and see what kind of interest we get. Because they're listed with an agent on MLS does not compel us to sell it to a bidder or highest bidder, but it simply exposes them across a huge network. And we don't know what we're going to get until we do that. So if we're going to fish, we got to put a worm on the hook. And so council, I'd suggest that we do that and just see what kind of interest comes back. So that would be a motion. It's on the floor right now, but only if there's a seconder would it succeed. Councillor Meredith seconding that one. So open for discussion on that. I'm not chairing this. This is yours, but take it away, Madam Chair.
Oh, I was having a nap. Kidding. Councillor Meredith.
Yeah, I'll speak. So we second it. Yeah. So I don't see what the harm is not put it. Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, we need direction because that wasn't what we were doing here, right? I still need another motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe there's an amendment to the motion on the floor. Can you just clarify what that is again, Mayor Gordon? Thank you.
It would be that it's whatever that motion says, receiving for information, and that staff be directed to begin the process to list all of these properties on the realtor.com, if it's not called MLS anymore. Somebody to that effect, however you'd like to wordsmith it.
Okay, thank you. And the discussion should be about the amendment. So if you agree, you can speak to the fact that they want to, or Mayor Gordon is suggesting that it be put on MLS, the properties.
Okay, so I have my hand up, so I can go ahead. If we're going to do that, would it not be fair to maybe leave off the Ontario Street property because there's already talks with it temporarily and then decide later? Like, I don't know, can we use that in the motion?
Is a friendly amendment if you wanted to remove a property from the list rather than just saying put them all on the MLS. I'm in council's hands. By listing it, it doesn't preclude Shelter Now from asking us for that donation. But to be fair to the Midland ratepayers, if we did have a developer come saying, hey man, I'll give you 1.5 million for that property and I'm going to build housing on it that may or may not be affordable, that 1.5 million is a big chunk of change to put into our reserves or use against tax increases. So I don't know that we should hobble ourselves by not listing it. Again, we're not bound to accept any offer that comes in. we're just basically throwing the worm in the lake and see what nibbles we get. Nothing would preclude Shelter Now or any other agency from approaching us to say, hey, well, we don't want to buy this property. We'd like you to donate it and go through that process.
Okay. We're probably not supposed to be doing this back and forth, but I think we might be taking a wrong direction with this, because if Shelter Now is able to build there, it takes a lot of people off the street, a lot of supports for many, many people for many reasons in our community. So I mean, I think that's a win-win regardless, but I guess we have to decide how we're going to word this, and if we can, just to leave it off temporarily.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The motion that's on the floor is that that staff be directed to list the properties outlined in the staff report. List the properties for sale, I guess, as outlined in the staff report. So you just have to talk about that. If you don't want that one, then we would need another amending motion.
All right, does anybody want to amend it with me? Or I need a seconder? Okay, do I have a seconder to amend it to add that? Okay, well, but
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just for clarification, the discussion right now should be, council has an opportunity to speak on the amendment that was proposed.
Right.
See what happens with that amendment, and then if we require another amendment, then that's a different discussion.
I see. Okay, so we'd actually have to vote on, and it would have to fail in order to add that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We could potentially do a friendly amendment, but
Okay.
the intent right now is to find out if council wants to amend the original motion, was just to receive it as information and list the properties for sale. So it's the listing the properties for sale that council has to discuss. And then we could do a friendly amendment if they wanted to. I could add in not including the property at Ontario Street.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I guess we're going to still finish some discussion here. Councillor Ball.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to speak to something Mayor Gordon just said, and that is my issue with this, is this report is for affordable housing. This is, the intention is affordable housing, but you just spoke to if someone's going to pay for it and not make affordable housing, that's money in our bank. Like, that's the entire purpose, is for this to be for affordable housing. And that's why I don't agree with listing these for sale. Councillor McDonald and I have been collaboratively working with like all these organizations in community services for like over a year now. Why would we not approach them first and ask them if they even have the ability to start building on any of these funded properties? Like, we have somebody coming today for the Native Center to build affordable housing as well. And they're asking for donated land. So why are we even considering just jumping right to selling these? And that's exactly my problem with this, is that we're stating that it's for affordable housing, but we're willing to take money if it's not for affordable housing. Like, we're not in a housing crisis, we're in an affordable housing crisis. So they're very different, and I don't like to generalize them like that. So I don't agree with putting these up. I think that there should be, I agree with this report for information, but trying to sell all these properties and putting them up without even consulting our local organizations that have the ability to maybe build on these lands, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Councillor Meredith.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. I think we're overthinking this a little bit. Just because we put them on MLS, it doesn't mean we have to sell them, right? And then if we get an offer and we probably say what's the use going to be, and if we don't like that, we just say no, right? So let's not overthink this. But if we get some good offers here, and this is potential affordable housing, we don't have a lot of developers knocking on our doors for affordable housing right now. This it's probably not profitable for them enough. So we should take all offers seriously. But at the same time, if Ontario Street comes up, a developer comes, we say, no, Shelter Now has first dibs at it, right? But we won't know about other potential interest in these if we don't put it out there. They're surplus land, so you know, if we get developers coming in or any type of contractor that wants to build a house, why would we not hear them out? Doesn't hurt. We just say no if we want it for something else. So I think we're overthinking it. I put these on MLS in a heartbeat and see what we get. So, and then make our decisions from there. Thank you.
Councillor McDonald.
Thank you. And I thank the staff for providing the report that we asked for, a list of some surplus lands. And I'm not in favor of listing them all at this time. I would like to see this circulated and to see what kind of interest we can drum up and watch the market. And as things get more demanding, then we could list it then. Stale listings, people just stop looking at them. So I think when there's more hunger out there, they'll look, and that's when to list it, but not at this time, is my opinion. I would vote no to the amendment to the motion, but yes to accept the report when we beat the first one.
Councillor Patel.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So I'm in agreement with Councillor Meredith and the mayor. We're just simply listing these properties. We're not selling them. I think to Councillor Ball's comment there, the organization has to, I think, approach us, and that's what the Native Friendship Center did, and that's what the Shelter Now is doing. They're approaching us, and simply listing these properties doesn't mean they're sold. We're just going to find out what they're worth. And also there could be a developer that's going to build geared to rent housing as well, which there's lots of grants available now. So it's also a form of affordable housing as well. It's just in hands of private entity. So I was discussing this with my friend, I think last night, that with all the grants and DC charges being forgiven, you'd be very smart to make the decision to build affordable housing rather than for-profit housing at this point in time, because all the upfront money that's offered. So I think we're going to see more affordable housing being built by private entities, and we should leave it in the market to see what a developer is going to do. Thank you.
Councillor Major.
I think we should list them on all of them, because if you ride around town or drive around town and look, there's houses that have been for sale for 5, 6, 7 months. So I'm not really too concerned about a developer racing in and buying a bunch of the properties. At least if they're out there, people can look at them. Because right now, spend some time around and kind of keep track of the time that a lot of houses have been for sale and they're just not moving. So, and it gets back to the other thing too. We don't have to sell it to anyone that bids on it. At least it's out there and it's getting some exposure, and that's what I want.
Okay, we'll just call the question. All in favor, and it's to put it on the MLS. That's carried. Opposed?
Excuse me, Madam Chair. I'm just going to print the proper motion, and then you can read the whole motion with the amendment included.
Okay. Okay, well, we're waiting, Mayor Gordon.
Yeah, just again, so even though we're not excluding 731 Ontario Street with the old operations depot that's has the interest of Shelter Now right now, I'll commit again, as I said earlier, just in case it needs to be on the record, that I'll continue to work with that request that's come through to our planning team and my office. And again, I won't be gatekeeping or, you know, I've only expressed my concern at the what appears to be the amazing value of that land. But I won't do anything to stop it from moving ahead to come to council, just to be absolutely clear to everybody. And ultimately, council can decide whether that request makes sense. But I do want to work with them to make sure they fully understand the levels of environmental studies that have been done and what remains to be done, because the last thing I'd like to do is set them up for a failure, because it is a pretty complicated site from its former use. So I want to continue to have them work with our engineering folks and planners to make sure that that site, if they were gifted it, would actually work out for them and wouldn't become a 10-year nightmare. I mean, look how much trouble you know, the guy that bought the parking lot downtown is having. This could be on an order of magnitude much greater. So I just want to formally say that even though it's technically going to go for listing just to see what's going on out in the world, that won't preclude me continuing to work in the background with the ultimate objective of getting that request in front of council, as long as they're going in with their eyes open. So just hopefully that satisfies anybody that's concerned, especially you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mayor Gordon. Okay, so I'm going to read the amended motion. It's moved by Councillor East, seconded by Councillor Major, that staff report CSR 2025-114 surplus lands for residential uses dated December 3rd, 2025 be received for information, and that staff be directed to list the properties as outlined in the staff report for sale. All in favor? Oh, you already did it, right? Sorry. It's a do-over. Okay, all right. I don't know why these are all mixed up tonight. Okay, moving on to 12.2, CSR 2025-115, 8th Street parking lane changes. I'll read the report. The staff report CSR 2025-115, 8th Street parking lane changes dated December 3rd be received, and 1, that council directs staff to move the parking lane from 8th Street between Yonge Street and Hugo Avenue and install bike lanes, and that council directs staff to update the traffic bylaw 2020-65 Schedule I, the I or 1, based on the outcome of this staff report, and that staff be directed to update the parking bylaw 2025-7 Schedule C to add prohibited parking areas in the above mentioned locations as detailed in the report upon completion of the 8th Street reconstruction project. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Patel and Councillor East. Mayor Gordon.
Just figured get the amendment out of the way up front so we can focus our discussion. So I'm suggesting we proceed with option 2 rather than option 1. And I've talked to staff about this. Mitch already knows he's not going to be deflated or anything about this. He's recommending all the proper engineering standards, and he's following his college, his profession. He has to has to give us option 1 as the option. There's nothing wrong with option 1, except that we always need to strike a balance. We did this with Yonge Street as well. I've had several people reach out to me, as you probably have, with concerns about losing parking on 8th Street, even though technically that kind of road shouldn't have it. Like, all the rationale is beautifully laid out. But I'm suggesting that we go with option 2. And if option 2 succeeds, then we're done here. If people don't like option 2 and you want something else, then option 2 will fail and we can go back to this conversation. But I just wanted to kick things off to try and focus us on option 2, which seems to be a good compromise for that road. And one that I think even active transportation might be getting behind. So that will be an amendment to this. So much like the mess we just did with the last one, Madam Clerk, would you like us to wait for an updated one to discuss? Or do you want us to kick off? Of course, I'll need a seconder for that amendment, but I'm in your hands. You're working? All right, so we'll just let the Jeopardy music play in our heads and we'll get the new one and then we can talk about that and see if option 2 resonates with council.
Councillor Major.
So as alumni of active transportation, and I was actually one of the specialists on that for 6 years. And so yesterday when they had their meeting, I got a call from a couple of active transportation, and just to let everyone know that they voted for option 2. So it's not only the alumni, but the current members.
Councillor Patel.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So when I read this report, it was like a deja vu of Yonge Street. Mr. Sobel was missing a tunnel and a bridge. So next time, that's required in the report. Thank you.
Councillor Meredith.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. And I agree with option 2 as well. It's a good balance between bike lanes and parking. I certainly wouldn't want to take the parking away without you know, everyone knowing on 8th Street that this is happening. Pretty sure most of the residents don't look at our agendas on a daily basis. So the one recommendation I may make to staff, and you probably you don't need to do this, but if we're doing a major change like this, shouldn't we be doing like putting out letters to the residents instead of you know, I did get a couple of phone calls before I came to tonight, and I asked them about letters. But it would be nice to get those letters in those areas that are major changes are going to happen. Because after that change happens, then we get the influx of, and staff would get the same influx of calls coming in. So I'd like to deal with it head on versus a surprise. Thank you.
Through Deputy Mayor. So we actually do that. That's part of our standard process. And back in June, letters were hand delivered to every affected property owner within this stretch. We do this to let them know of the project, what's going on, what the planned objectives are, who the contact people are from the town, from the consultants, and that you're going to start to see us around doing some surveying and invest, and we're not some scammers running around the neighborhood. So we do this because you would be surprised how many times we get a call saying there's this strange person in a vest in my front yard. What are they all about? So standard process, we do that. And then there's also the added with this project, it was part of the transportation master plan that goes through a healthy consultation process that's regimented. Yes, it was a number of years ago, but it's still a process. But absolutely, our standard procedure is to get notices out to residents ahead of time, let them know who to contact if they have any questions. And to my knowledge, we received no comments back from any homeowners in this stretch of road since June.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'm glad that to hear that we're given some notice. My other question would be, when it says in the report in 2026, this is going to be completed. When about are we starting this project?
So through Deputy Mayor to Councillor Meredith, the plan would be to start in the spring. This was a project that was approved through the 2025 budget. We're nearing the end of the design process. That's why we need an answer on this decision. Once we finish it up, we'll plan a tender in the wintertime and hit the ground running. We know that we'll have to coordinate with some work on Yonge Street. We also have some paving work on Hugo next year. We'll coordinate that accordingly.
Councillor McDonald.
So I'm addressing the amendment to consider option 2. but I'm going to clarify a comment and then make a comment. First of all, you said the notices that went out in June, did they include the options? So were the residents aware of the possibility of no parking being considered in June?
Through Deputy Mayor to Councillor McDonald. So it would not have had the options as written out in this report, but the newsletter would have specified what we're doing with the project, with the reconstruction of the undergrounds, as well as the addition of the bike lanes. At the time that we went out there, we didn't necessarily know that we had to make this change yet because we hadn't completed the full survey and detailed design.
Thank you for that clarification. So the residents would not know that we're considering until this report came out, the same as us. And then just a clarification about the active transportation. This was not an agenda item, but I did bring it forward. And we did have a discussion, but there was no motion brought forward. One of the comments during the discussion was that possibly to encourage active transportation, some of those parents and students walking to Mundy's Bay could be encouraged to park on 8th Street because 6th and 7th is so busy that they could have a two block walk instead of the 9 block. So I know I'm a little off topic, but I'm going to support option 2 because I feel it should be safe. I'm very happy with the 2 bike lanes, but unless we want to defer this report until we speak directly to the residents and make them aware of these options.
Madam Clerk.
Madam Chair, I do have the amending motion, and that's what council should be discussing at the moment. I do have a question of our ED of engineering. Should council go with option 2? Is the traffic study still need to be updated as well as the parking bylaw?
Through Deputy Mayor, the traffic bylaw would need to still be updated to add the bike lanes to the schedules. Parking bylaw would not need to be modified.
Okay, I'm going to read the amended motion before I take questions. That council support option 2 is outlined in the staff report. Provide 1 sidewalk on the west side of 8th Street, keep the parking lane on the west side of 8th Street, and install bike lanes on the east and west side of East Street with a buffer. Councillor Meredith.
Thank you. I just want to get some clarification on the parking bylaw as pertain to 8th Street. So there's not going to be any prohibited parking on the west side. Is that correct? Are we putting signs up there like any type of like no parking between certain times, or is this going to be as status quo as it is right now? Is that correct?
Through Deputy Mayor and Councillor Meredith. So my understanding of what I think council is looking to get is to be status quo in terms of parking. And talking from Mr. Kennedy here, there is already signage on the east side of the road for no parking on the east side, and parking is prohibited or allowed on the west side. The only potential modification we would have to do is to make sure we, either from a signage perspective or in the parking bylaw, have the correct wording for the scenario if somebody parks in the biking lane. What do we do from that? What do his officers do from that standpoint? Otherwise, it would be the same. There would be the same parking capacity. There'd be no impacts from that side of things.
Oh, okay, thank you. I'm satisfied with that.
Counselor Ball.
Thank you. I just had like a friendly, I guess, question and consideration. For big decisions like this, like I know we get the agenda and like the public does the week before. For something like this, it's really hard to get a feel of how residents feel in such a short time. And making that decision, I hate making decisions this big without having their consideration. So I know that you present the report and it's amazing and it's nothing against that at all. I was just maybe we used to get more council emails that are like generalized about what we're considering, what's coming up. Like, I don't know if we can say we are considering putting this, like I'll ask Sherry, like if we can consider putting this as this is what we're considering. So residents have the option of giving us, or if we have something like this received for information and then we have the opportunity to ask residents after, because we're making decisions without consulting residents. I don't feel good about that.
Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through to Councillor Ball. The proper process would not be to provide information to council via email. As you are elected officials, all of your discussions need to happen in open session in the public. As far as notifying residents about what's coming up on 8th Street, I know there is going to be a reconstruction. I'm sure there'll be communication about that. I'll turn to Mr. Sobel to see if further communication happens with respect to reconstruction in advance of reconstruction.
Through Deputy Mayor, Councillor Ball. So as I mentioned earlier, we do the newsletters ahead of time to try to get information out. This project is a little bit different than Yonge Street. Yonge Street, remember, we did lots of consultation, we did surveys, we went back out, we had the public information sessions. Yonge Street's a little bit different of a project. It's a main arterial. It already had bike lanes. We were doing some significant changes to it. So it automatically draws a lot more attention. We can look at our processes to see when does that trigger to do additional consultation. The concern is basically, to be honest with you, is the time and effort that it'll take for our small team so what level of consultation is needed for what project, right? So that's the purpose of the master plans. That's why we do them. That's why they are a legislated process through the provincial government, and they're the opportunities, and then council adopts that plan. And so then it's my job to execute that plan. And so if we didn't have a space issue, we have a real estate issue. A standard collector road is 26 meters wide right away. We only have a 20-meter wide right away, and that's why we have the issue that we can't fit it all in. It was a similar situation to Yonge Street. If we could fit it all in, we would fit it all in. We wouldn't even be here having this conversation today. The problem is I have the standard for cross sections. We have the official plan standards, and then we also have our master plans to follow. And when we can't appease all of those, that's when we have to come back to council.
Thank you. I didn't want to cut you off while you were talking, but I'm not suggesting that your team does it. I'm suggesting that I have the opportunity to go out and talk to residents, because when I see it a week prior, that's not enough time to go to every house and ask how they feel about it. So if we can consider that we receive this information and then we make a decision at the next meeting, if it's not a rush, like this is not a rush project. And yes, we're going to consult residents after, but we've already made the choice of what's being done with the street. So I don't want your team to do any more work than they're doing. I just want to have the opportunity to be able to speak to residents prior to, like, in more than 1 week. Just, I don't know, just a consideration. I don't know who that goes to or how that gets done. Just, I'd love to, I mean, we can defer it, but for ongoing process, it would be nice to just have it for information.
To you, Deputy Mayor, just to comment on the deferral and the timing standpoint, if we were to defer this until January, it would jeopardize us completing the design, tendering at a time where we can get the best value for a contractor, and then it jeopardizes our construction start. So just wanted to make council aware of that.
Councillor Meredith.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. And also having a comment with Councillor Ball's comments. I think if we were taking parking out of this equation on 8th Street, then we'd have a bigger problem with residents. 2 residents I talked to, they were happy with option 2, but I wouldn't have been happy if the majority of council was in favor of option 1, getting rid of the parking. In saying that, if that were to happen and council was uneasy about the whole thing, then we could direct staff to go back to those residents, give them notice of what's happening so they all know, and then we can make a decision from there. So I'm confident that 8th Street, the majority of the people on 8th Street will be happy with because they still have parking and an additional buffer of a bike lane, really. So thank you.
Sorry, I'm not speaking about this report specifically, just in general going forward. I want to clarify that.
Madam Chair, or sorry, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe the discussion has occurred, so you could call the vote on the amendment. And then I also have, should the amendment pass, I have another motion the complete motion that you can read.
So council, I've read the motion. All in favor? That's unanimous. Okay. So I have the amended motion. It's moved by Mayor Gordon, seconded by Councillor Meredith, that staff report CSR-2025-115 8th Street parking lane changes dated December 3rd, 2025 be received, and that council support option 2 as outlined in the staff report, provide one sidewalk on the west side of 8th Street, keep the parking lot lane on the west side of 8th Street, and install bike lanes on the east and west side of 8th Street with a buffer. That council directs staff to update the traffic bylaw 2020-65 Schedule I based on the outcome of this staff report. All in favor? Unanimous, that's carried. Okay, moving on to 12.3, the Georgian Bay Native Friendship Center land request. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Mayor Gordon and Councillor McDonald. Mayor Gordon has an amendment.
Again, we're focusing our conversation tonight because there are 5 options on this report. And as we know, there's a freshly received letter today that's also published. We got it by email, but it's also on the online version for those of you who'd like to watch it online. I'm suggesting that we begin our conversation around option 5, which aligns with the request that from the updated letter. The other ones I do appreciate, and I will own the fact that they look complicated with all these numbers, because I asked staff to make sure that both Native Friendship Center and council are aware of the fees and charges that go along with these type of developments. But the suggestion was never that, we eat them all. And nor was that ever the request of the Native Friendship Center. I just want to be super clear. So Steve and your team, I appreciate you taking the time to compile all these, and that now I'm going to option 5, which doesn't contemplate them. But it was really important for the conversation with the executive director of Native Friendship Center, so they knew what they were in for with fees. And as they communicated in their letter, they fully expected, whether they bought land somewhere or have it donated, that there are quite a number of fees, and some of them are quite substantial in moving through the whole planning and approval process. and they expect to pay pay their way. The only, freebie they're asking for here is basically what we've done with shelter, or not with shelter now, but with Habitat for Humanity and with the county and other organizations where we've donated land so that affordable housing can be built on. They're just asking for the same courtesy, and the small parcel of land proximity just happens to be directly behind their building, which allows them not only to synergies of connecting services through roads, but also for the developer that bought that 415 William parcel that abuts what's being proposed tonight, to help them with the designs and servicing as well, because Delbrook's agreed to help them out with their project since they're going to be neighbors. So long and short of it is, I'd like to propose that we discuss option 5, which is basically just donating the land. The cost, is because we've evaluated the value of the land at 55,000. That's our contribution towards this deeply affordable apartment complex for rentals, and that whatever other costs are, which are estimated to be somewhere in the range of 140 grand, I'm rounding up, all would be borne willingly by the Georgian Bay Native Friendship Center as they move through the process. And of course, if this amendment passes, then yay. If it doesn't, then we can discuss the other options on board. So again, I'm sorry, Madam Clerk, but let the chair call for discussion, and I would need a seconder, of course, for that to propose that amendment. Are we good with that? Mover and a seconder, okay? And I will yield for discussion.
Okay, I'm going to go first this time. I completely support that. Oh, wait a minute.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just going to print the amendment, and you have to read the amendment to get it on the floor.
Then we'll be quiet for a few minutes. Okay, so this amendment was moved by Mayor Gordon and or was it? No, and Councillor East. Okay. So the motion reads that the town donates land at no cost, and any additional cost would be borne by the Georgian Bay Native Friendship Center, and that council directs staff to begin the process of declaring the land surplus. The lands be donated to the Georgian Bay Native Friendship Center at $55,000 value. Additional costs would be borne by the Georgian Bay Native Friendship Center at approximately $136,412, including PJR. I'm going to open this up for discussion, I'm going to open this for discussion, and I'm going to go first today. I really just want to speak to the Georgian Bay Native Friendship Center. They are just amazing in our community. They will help anybody and everybody, and they do on a daily basis in our town. They're kind of like the Salvation Army. They don't judge people for any reason, and they will help anyone and everyone who goes to them for help. And I think if we're able to, donate a piece of land that's, not even worth a lot to us, it is worth a lot to, 30 people or however many it's going to house. I think it's about 30 people in our community. So, and seniors at that. So it supports 30 seniors having homes. I am 100% in favor of this, and I would do anything I could for the Georgian Bay Native Friendship Center as I do for the Salvation Army. Councillor Major.
I'm all on board on that too. And the biggest thing is we got to realize that if they get the seniors 1 bedroom apartments up, it'll be anyone that can live in them. So they're not just having it for a certain, it's like anyone can live in them, and that's where I support it 100%. Thanks.
Councillor East.
Thank you, through you, Beth. Yes, I fully support it. When I ran for council, I wanted to commit to Midland to build affordable housing, and then I quickly realized that very first meeting that we don't build houses. So that was a real shot in the face. But speaking to Councillor Ball, she did bring up a really good point that we're not actually in a housing crisis, we're in an affordability crisis. So we actually have the ability here to put shovels in the ground and help our residents find their affordable housing that when I ran for council that I found out that I couldn't keep my promise. So now we have the ability to keep a promise. So I fully support this, and it's much needed in our area.
Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. I just would like to echo your comments on the valuable service that the Georgian Bay Native Friendship Center provide to the vulnerable population of our community. And I'm speaking from personal experience because we work closely with them, we being the St. Vincent de Paul and many agencies. I'm in support of option 2, is it? 5, thank you. No, because we don't do enough, well, we don't have that many opportunities to actually offer assistance to anyone that wants to build some affordable housing. And this is an ideal situation. It's not outrageously expensive. So I'm in favor of the amendment.
Councillor Patel.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So through the council lens, I like to just echo all their comments and all the great things the Native Friendship Center does for the community. And the letter we received this afternoon, they're willing to pay for it. So, and they also requested to have the land donated. So they're not saying we want it. They're giving us the options. Let us decide. Do we want to donate the land or do we want to sell them the land? So either way, they're happy with any decision we make, and we should make the right decision, which the council looks like leaning towards option 5. So through the lens of the council, I agree. Thank you.
Councillor Meredith.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. And then the letter that we received today, there was 2 options on the table. One was to donate, like Councilor Patel said, and one was to sell or to sell the land at a ridiculously low price of $55,000, the assessment. And they're willing to pay for that. And yes, they do amazing things. And I agree with the majority of council that we should donate it. But this is where I have a problem. So Christy Lavin did amazing things for the vulnerable in our community, right? She was asking for $17,000. This is $55,000 of taxpayers' money, right? We sat here and we discussed the merits of Christy Lavin's case, right? We're not willing to help out the little guy. And this is where I stand on council, for the little guy, right? But we are willing to donate, give land, $55,000, to mostly probably government funded, right? Georgia Bay Native Friendship is government funded. Probably the majority of their funding comes from the government, which comes from our pockets. But so we have the little guy that's not government funded, that works tirelessly day and night. And we're not willing to go to bat for her. But a government-funded project like this, no problem, let's give it away, right? That's where I have the problem. I'm not saying I don't agree with council, but look at it the other way for the little guy. When you're up here deciding next, that's who I'm here to fight for. So, thank you.
Mayor Gordon.
Sorry, I know where Councillor Meredith is coming from, but if I just leave it out in the air like this, it looks like we're comparing apples and apples, and we're not. One is a nonprofit organization, the other one is a for-profit. So again, we can't conflate the two. One's a corporation that owns that building that we already debated and council made a decision on, so it's done and over with. And the other one is a not-for-profit charitable organization that's housing a bunch of people. So while I understand the nexus you're trying to make, it doesn't work. We shouldn't even be talking about that other Lavin decision because that's done and over with the council. But I'm not chastising you for that, Councilor Meredith. I'm just saying that they are completely separate animals. A for-profit, meaning not a not-for-profit, privately, held landlord wanting some forgiveness of tax with tax money, which we already decided, versus a not-for-profit, basically a charity that does all this benevolence in the community for thousands of people, spends $30,000 a month doing rent subsidies to keep people housed, and has a food truck downtown feeding the homeless people, has street outreach for
Point
youth
of
and
order,
for
Madam
everybody.
Chair, if I may. We should be discussing the amendment.
I agree, but it's important for the community. If we don't say this, whatever's last said is hung out there as truth. And there just is such a vast chasm of difference between what the Georgia Bay Native Friendship Center does, or insert any big organization like Salvation Army. You can't compare that with a for-profit private landlord corporation. And I think it's unfair to characterize the two. I understand your position on the other, but it's a completely different conversation. And I don't think it belongs in the decision matrix or the discussion we're having around whether we sell the land to Native Friendship Center or donate it to them. I respect your right to choose the sell option versus donate, but to try and conflate this ask with the one that we previously decided, I think is very unfair to large charitable organizations such as the Native Friendship Center. But that's just my opinion, but I just didn't want to leave it hanging out there. Okay, so.
Madam Clerk, am I calling this question and then you're going to give me something else? Okay, Council, you've heard the motion. All in favor? Opposed? That's unanimous. That's carried. Exactly. Good job. Okay, I have the new motion here, moved by Mayor Gordon, seconded by Councillor East, that staff report CSR 2025 116 Georgian Bay Native Friendship Center land request dated December 3rd, 2025 be received for information, and that council support option 5 that the town donate the land at 539 William Street to the Georgian Bay Native Friendship Center valued at $55,000 at no cost, and that any additional costs would be borne by the Georgian Bay Native Friendship Center valued at approximately $136,412, including PJR, and that council directs staff to begin the process of declaring the land surplus. All in favor? That's unanimous, and that's carried. No, that's good. Mhm. So moving forward, 12.4, public nuisance bylaw. Could I have a mover and, a mover and a seconder? Well, the public nuisance. Counselor Major, seconded by Counselor East. That staff report CSR 2025-121 public nuisance bylaw dated December 3rd, 2025 be received, and that the implementing bylaw as shown in attachment 1 be passed and enacted. Does council have any questions or comments? Mayor Gordon.
Thank you. This one actually attracted the attention of CTV. It was on news last night. They must have picked it out of our agenda because I hadn't even published this on my website or social media yet. But since it was on the news, I took advantage of that and published that today. And Facebook didn't let me down. I was strapped on and lambasted left, right, and center. There were some real choice terms for me out there. So thank you for that, folks. I can always count on you. But I think it would be a perfect opportunity to allow our manager of bylaw to, I'd like to throw something out there because, of course, many of the people who commented didn't bother reading the report or my website where I outlined the report, and they were fixating on the homeless, which is a very small part of this. However, it is part of why this needed to be created because we had these, if you remember, somebody had set up camp on the transformer box downtown, and when staff moved in to try and deal with that, as well as outreach, by the way, it was determined we didn't have a leg to stand on. Now that person ambulated on their own out of there, and ops swooped in and was able to throw the stuff away. And I'll give the person credit. They even piled up their cardboard nice and neat and left it behind. And shelter services were offered to them, etc. But I'd like to hear from our manager of bylaw. How, like, because of course I'm getting all kinds of criticism about criminalizing homelessness and we're heartless, and you know what's a $100,000 ticket? People are taken to the max degree, of course. What's a $100,000 ticket for being homeless going to do for a homeless person, aside from provide them a toilet paper? That was the examples that are being used online. So maybe you could just walk us through the intent of this bylaw, why we needed this, where you modeled it from, because you didn't just sit down and chat GPT it, and what it's meant to do to help the community. And if you could, for the purposes of, so other counselors have questions about it, let's just focus on the vagrancy homeless panhandling part, which arguably could be handled through the criminal code or Safe Streets Act or other legislation that's already out there. It would be worth talking about this so that the community doesn't think we're reenacting things that have been overturned by the city of Barrie, for example, when they brought out some things that were found to be unconstitutional or against human rights code. How is this one different? I'd just like everyone to know that we're not going to throw ourselves down the same hole as other municipalities that did well-intended but ineffective bylaws.
Through the chair, thank you, Mayor Gordon. I think in this answer is more. It's a kind of a less is more answer. While people may perceive this as we're picking on homeless or unhoused or anything, I don't see anywhere in this bylaw that actually says we're targeting that. This bylaw is for everybody, like every other bylaw that we've passed in this town. We're not targeting homeless. While there are certain sections that you could relate to the unhoused, you could have anybody do that. For example, you could have anybody set up a tent on the sidewalk on King Street, and until this bylaw would be passed, we really have nothing in our bylaws at the time to actually enforce that and get them to move. So this is why this bylaw is being created. A lot of times, public nuisance bylaws are, in a sense, catch-all type of bylaws where you have a nuisance where it doesn't necessarily fall under any other bylaw very specifically. And this is where these bylaws come into play, is you have these public nuisance bylaws that'll have different provisions throughout. They're very, very broad. There's a lot of differences in the provisions. So, like I said, it's more of a catch-all. Another example, this year, I know we've talked about this in council before, on the Aberdeen part of the trail. There was a resident who went on their own to spray paint our light bollards along the trail because they didn't like the light shining into their yard. And we did not have anything in our parks and trails bylaw that actually covered that. So this bylaw now covers situations like that where people willfully damage town infrastructure. So I think I'll leave it at that. But like I said, I think the bottom line is this bylaw is for everybody. It's not just for the unhoused or homeless people. Thank you.
Councillor Meredith.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost, and thank you for that explanation, Robin. Thank you for sifting through these bylaws and seeing where there's gaps and holes and what needs to be remedied to protect not only the town, but the citizens as well. So I appreciate it. I think you're doing a great job at sifting through these bylaws and seeing where it needs improvements or the lack of bylaws. So thank you very much.
Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. I'm curious on one of the questions that the mayor asked about who this was modeled after, if there was a municipality that it was modeled after and how it's working in that municipality. And then I'm also curious on the panhandler. I'm just picking that one out when they're asking for money or asking for anything, assistance. How will that person be approached?
Through the chair, this bylaw was created based on looking at many different municipal bylaws. I looked at the city of Barrie, the town of Caledon, the city of Waterloo, town of Wasaga Beach. There was a lot of different municipalities that I researched to see what was in their bylaws, what was most common. Some of the stuff that we've had issues with that are specific to us were included. And in respect to the panhandling one, I would suggest that if we receive a complaint, our officers would go down to the location of where the person is panhandling or asking for money. We politely ask them to simply just move along and stop doing what they're doing. And depending on their reaction to that request, we may take enforcement action. We may end up having to call police for trespassing. If someone's at the corner of, say, Hugel and King Street panhandling, we can certainly call police and ask them to be trespassed. If it comes to that, I find typically if you simply approach them and say like, hey, you got to move along, they seem to go. So it turns into a non-issue. I would suggest that not often are we going to see any fines or charges being laid in this situation. So it's more just, again, it's like I said during our last bylaw, it's an educational thing. Let people know that they're in contravention and then deal with it as we progress through that process.
Thank you. There's certainly a lot in here. Going to be a lot more work. Well, I guess you've always been doing the work, but now you have something to back you up. So thank you.
Councillor Major.
Yeah, you're doing a great job. And I think that was the guy with the green tent that down and sprayed the lights so he could sleep at night. But anyways, good job and keep up doing what you're doing, because there are still a lot of seniors that are a little sketchy about going downtown. So the more you can do down there to make it better for them, the better it is for the businesses downtown.
Okay, council, you have heard the motion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Number 13, notices of motion. We have none. 14, the fun part, general announcements. Does anyone have any general announcements? Councillor Meredith. Oh. We're back up. Okay. We're back to 13, notices of motion. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you very much. Wasn't asleep, but you went very quickly. I'm proposing a notice of motion, and I just kind of, whereas several reports are requesting zoning change from natural heritage to residential or commercial, and whereas we are chipping away at the natural heritage inventory, I'm requesting the staff to present us with a whole picture of all the natural land for future planning. And I know we've had this maybe at the very beginning of our term, but it would be nice to see our long-term plan where we should be saving. Is that asking too much? Along with the tree protection bylaw?
Through you, Madam Chair. So staff right now are doing a natural heritage review. So we will be coming back to council with a report and with a study that looks at all the natural heritage lands that are designated throughout the town. So we're already on that, and we're going to be bringing that back to council at some point in the new year. So that's a planning project we're doing. The tree preservation bylaw, that's something that Rob and his team are going to work on as well. So we're already looking at natural heritage, and we're going to be coming back to council with a more bigger picture of what properties should be included, which one shouldn't be. And we're going to be retaining an ecologist to help us with that.
Just clarification, that would be this term. Like,
through you, Madam Chair, yes, the intent is to start it early next year, and then depending on the studies that need to be done and how in-depth they will be, is to have it come back to council, hopefully with a conclusion before the end of this term. But it will be started, and we will be coming forward to this council with at least a staff report, giving them updates on the direction that we're proceeding with.
I guess I'm requesting guidance. I don't need this. Okay, I'll withdraw my notice of motion. But I've got you on record. Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving on to 14 again. General announcements. Does anyone have anything to announce? Councillor Major.
I think we lucked out for the Saturday for the Santa Claus parade. And then the next Saturday was Silver Stick, and this weekend Silver Stick. So anyone wanting to go up to the rec center or the Bourgeois Rec Center now and see some good hockey, it starts, I think, Friday for sure and runs till Sunday.
Mayor Gordon.
Thanks. I'm always good for a couple, kind of like Euchre. So I would like to call out and congratulate Bourgeois, the Bourgeois family, the whole motorsports team. They were successful in the naming rights, and we did a public press release, and it's on the news, so probably people have heard about it by now, but if not, the NSSRC is now officially the BCC. That's the Bourgeois Community Center. And so that's a 10-year sponsorship deal, $30,000 a year for 10 years with renewal options. it's a fantastic agreement and shows the really deep level of commitment that this business provider, this privately held business has in our community. And so there's a press release if you'd like to read all the accolades and whatnot, but I just want to congratulate them and of course thank them for participating in this process and staff for crafting this process. It was kind of our first naming rights adventure, and it's now a template that we can use for other naming rights for other town assets like our little pavilion down Little Lake Park, the stage. We can get right down to name that manhole if you want. We can get as granular as we wish now that we have the template. So at any rate, it's wonderful to see. And I think depending on the outcome of the budget, there's also a dog park expansion considered for small dogs. And I've already sort of, again, dipped the worm in the water, and there are companies that would be looking forward to advertising and sponsoring that addition. So we'll talk about that more at budget, but that would involve coroplast signage and whatnot, much like we see at the Sports and Rec Center. So the hard work staff has already done to create this procedure for naming rights and for sponsorship can really serve us well into the future. So congratulations to the Bourgeois family and for doing this and for being successful. And I look forward to the big reveal of the new artwork and graphic and signage that go up, and quite likely seeing some of their cars in the lobby area or however they're going to do their magic for promotion in there. But it is very exciting, and it's our first foray. So I just wanted to give a big shout out to the Bourgeois team. Thanks, Adam.
Councillor McDonald.
Thank you. I would just like to share with the council and the community that Hope Housing and Health was success. You probably heard us talking about it before, but the planning committee did have a debriefing session, and they're going to present a summary of the outcome to council in February, now that we have our dates that we passed by consensus. And they're already talking about the fourth one. So thanks to everybody that was involved in this planning. We should be proud of the community input.
Councillor Patel.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I guess Mayor has a lot of real estate on his head for some advertising. Maybe we can put some logos there. This Saturday, the 6th vigil for La Maison, the Rosewood Shelter that's happening, and we're all I think most of the councillors are attending, and I encourage people to kind of just find out what that organization's about. Also, last Saturday, I went to the opening ceremony of the Special Olympics for curling, which was very well done, and there was good participation there. All the I guess the lanes, well, I don't know what you call them. Wow. Oh yeah, well, that's good. Yeah, so Midland team is, I guess, advancing to the provincial. Thank you.
Councillor Meredith.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. I don't really have an announcement, but what I would like to say is big thank you to staff and council. It's almost been a month now since my dad passed away, and the support that our family has gotten from the community, from the staff here, from council, was amazing. And I'd like to thank you from all the Meredith family for that support. I also like to thank Western Victoria from which used to be the Midland Fish and Chips. My dad was there for 35 years operating that business. Now it's Let Me Be Frank, and they did a fundraiser for in honor of my father. They raised $685, and then we were able to top it up to a little over $2,000. So I wanted to send them our appreciation for honoring Dad. And then also Brookley, the reception at Brookley after my dad's funeral was amazing. They did an amazing job. was a little concerned at the start, but you know what, they what a venue that was. So Brooklyn did a fantastic job. And then last but not least, hospice. Hospice is amazing. Can't say enough about hospice. Introduced hospice to the Greek community because they all the Greeks that came into hospice, they couldn't believe what the facility that we have here in Midland. So I'm sure there are going to be a lot of donations going to hospice from the Greek community as well now too. So, but from the bottom of our hearts, thank you very much.
Okay, so moving to 15, motion to close committee of the whole and resume formal council session. So it's moved by Councillor Major, seconded by Councillor Ball, that the committee of the whole rise and report. All in favor? That's carried. Back to you, Mayor Gordon.
Thanks. We're making it in record time tonight, so I can't. It's too late to jinx it now because we're into the formalities. So moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Councillor Patel, that the recommendations of the committee of the whole for the meeting of December 3rd, 2025 be adopted as resolutions of council. Council, all in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Next, moved by Councillor Ball, seconded by Councillor Meredith, that the following lengthy list of bylaws I'm about to read. Bylaw 2025-64, amend bylaw 2025-7 as amended, being a bylaw to regulate parking with the town of Midland. Bylaw 2025-65, regulate and govern the use of activities permitted on town land, environmentally protected land, and open space, and repeal bylaw 70-2969. 70-2960. That was a banner year if there was 2969 bylaws in 1970. Maybe just a numbering convention. Bylaw 2025-66, adopt amendment number 3 to the town of Midland official plan. Bylaw 2025-67, adopt amendment number 7 to the town of Midland official plan. Bylaw 2025-68, amend zoning bylaw 2004-90 as amended for the lands municipally known as 9421 County Road 93 and 1112 St. Andrews Drive in town of Midland. Bylaw 2025-69, amend zoning bylaw 2004-90 as amended for the lands municipally known as 526 Bay Street in the town of Midland. And lastly, bylaw 2025-70, authorize the town to assume Wright Drive. Exciting for the people who live on Wright Drive. Be passed and enacted. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Next, moved by Councillor Bald, seconded by Councillor Major, that bylaw 2025-71 being a bylaw to adopt the proceedings of regular council meeting held December 3rd, 2025 be passed and enacted. All those in favor? Any opposed? And last but not least, moved by Councillor East, seconded by Deputy Mayor Prost, that this regular meeting of council adjourn at 8:07 p.m. All those in favor? All right. Yeah, any opposed? Okay, we're adjourned. Thanks, everybody, and Merry Christmas.